Have you ever felt like the world was against you? Like every door was closing, every dream was slipping through your fingers, and there was no one left to believe in you? That's exactly where Marcus found himself on a cold December evening, sitting alone in his small apartment while his 5-year-old daughter Lily slept in the next room. He'd just been left at the altar, abandoned by his fiancée Sarah, who chose a wealthy investor over the man who loved her with every fiber of his being. But what Marcus didn't know was that his darkest moment was about to become the beginning of the most beautiful love story, one that would teach him that true kindness always finds its way back to you. This is a story about second chances, about the power of compassion in a broken world, and about how one simple act of kindness can completely transform your entire life. It's a reminder that we never really know what someone else is going through, and that sometimes the most meaningful connections come from the most unexpected places. So if you're ready to be moved, to feel something real, and to remember why kindness matters, keep watching, because this story is going to stay with you long after it ends. Before we dive deeper into this incredible journey, we want to invite you to become part of the Kindness Hub family. If you're enjoying this story and you believe in the power of kindness as much as we do, please hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you never miss another inspiring tale. Drop a like if this story is touching your heart, and in the comments below, tell us about a time when someone's kindness changed your life. We read every single comment, and your stories inspire us just as much as this one will inspire you. Thank you for being here. Now let's begin. Marcus had always been the kind of man who saw the best in people. Growing up in a modest neighborhood in Ohio, he'd learned early on that life wasn't about what you had, but who you had beside you. When his wife passed away after giving birth to little Lily, instead of falling apart, he chose to work harder, to be stronger, and to give his daughter the life her mother would have wanted for her. He worked as a freelance graphic designer, taking jobs at all hours, sacrificing sleep and personal time to build a stable future for his little girl. Sarah had come into his life like a fresh breeze on a summer day. She was beautiful, ambitious, and seemed to understand his dedication to Lily. They met through mutual friends, and within months, Marcus felt like he'd finally found someone who could be a mother figure to his daughter and a partner for his journey. He spent 3 months saving money to buy her a beautiful diamond ring, and when he finally proposed in the park where Lily played, Sarah said yes with tears in her eyes. Or so he thought those tears meant something. The wedding was supposed to happen in December, just a week before Christmas. Marcus had booked the small church where he and his wife had gotten married. He'd invited all their friends, and Lily was going to be the flower girl in a tiny white dress. Marcus's elderly mother had flown in from Florida, excited to see her son finally find happiness again. But 3 days before the wedding, everything changed. Sarah called him and told him she was leaving him for a venture capitalist named Richard, who'd promised her a life of luxury, travel, and endless possibilities. She said she couldn't be tied down to a man with a ready-made family and no prospects for real wealth. She said it coldly, without remorse, without even asking about Lily. Marcus didn't tell many people what happened. He simply called the church and canceled. He returned all the gifts that had already arrived. He held his crying daughter and told her that sometimes people we love make choices that hurt us, but that didn't mean there was anything wrong with loving them. That's just who Marcus was. Even broken, even devastated, he was still teaching kindness. On that dark December evening, when he was sitting alone with his thoughts, Marcus heard a knock on his door. It was his best friend David with another man Marcus had never seen before. David's voice was urgent and serious. He explained that the man's name was James, and he was in trouble. James had nowhere to go, no one to turn to, and David didn't know where else to bring him. Marcus, without hesitation, told James he could stay as long as he needed. Over the next few weeks, James stayed with them. He was quiet and thoughtful, and he quickly formed a beautiful bond with Lily. He'd read her bedtime stories and make her laugh with silly voices and funny faces. Marcus learned that James had left a toxic job situation and was trying to figure out his next chapter. What moved Marcus the most was how James never pitied him for what had happened with Sarah. Instead, he respected Marcus's strength and often commented on what an amazing father he was. It was actually David who mentioned to Marcus that James seemed to know an awful lot about business and investment for someone who was supposedly taking a break. One evening, when Lily was asleep, James finally opened up. He told Marcus that he wasn't just a business consultant or a career advisor. He was actually a chief executive officer of one of the fastest-growing tech companies in the country. He'd left because the company was becoming toxic, and he needed to remember why he'd started it in the first place. He needed to find the part of himself that still believed in making a real difference. Marcus was shocked, but not in a judgmental way. He was shocked because James had never once mentioned it, never once used it as leverage or bragged about it. He'd simply been present, helpful, and kind. He'd played with Lily, helped with the dishes, listened to Marcus's broken heart, and offered genuine companionship without expecting anything in return. Over the following months, as James got back on his feet and figured out his career path, he spent more and more time with Marcus and Lily. They'd go to the park together, make homemade pizza on Fridays, and build blanket forts in the living room. Something magical was happening between Marcus and James that neither of them had planned or expected. It started with a lingering glance, a hand held a little too long, a smile that meant more than just friendship. One snowy evening, as they watched Lily sleep between them on the couch after a movie marathon, James turned to Marcus and quietly asked if he'd ever thought about the possibility of being happy again. Marcus's eyes filled with tears because he had thought he was done with happiness, that he'd be alone forever. James told him that he'd never believed in love at first sight before he met Marcus, but that he'd been falling for him since that very first night when Marcus had opened his door to a stranger without question or hesitation. Marcus and James got married in a small ceremony at City Hall with just Lily, David, and Marcus's mother present. There were no elaborate decorations or expensive venues, just genuine love and the people who mattered most. It was everything the wedding with Sarah wasn't, and it was perfect. Lily threw rice and laughed, and Marcus felt like he was finally breathing again after being underwater for so long. But here's where the real power of kindness reveals itself in this story. After they were married, James confessed something to Marcus. He told him that he'd been at his breaking point before David brought him to Marcus's door. He'd been so close to giving up, to shutting himself off from the world, and to believing that his life would never mean anything beyond profit margins and stock prices. He said that watching Marcus, a man who'd been betrayed and broken, still choose kindness, still open his home to a stranger, still love his daughter with such pure devotion despite his own pain, that had saved his life. James went on to restructure his entire company. He implemented policies that focused on employee well-being, fair wages, and genuine human connection. He donated millions to children's hospitals and education programs. He did all of this not for recognition, but because Marcus had shown him what really mattered. And later, when the press eventually found out about their relationship, James and Marcus became accidental advocates for LGBTQ+ representation in the business world, simply by living their authentic lives without apology. Marcus continued his freelance design work, but now he did it because he loved it, not because he had to. James encouraged him to start his own studio, and with a small investment and Marcus's incredible talent, the business thrived. More importantly, they got to spend more time together as a family. Lily grew up in a home filled with laughter, stability, and the kind of love that comes from two people who genuinely chose each other and chose to keep choosing each other every single day. Years later, when Lily was in high school, she wrote an essay about the most important lesson her parents taught her. She wrote about kindness, about how her dad never hardened his heart even when someone broke it. She wrote about how he taught her that being good to people wasn't about what you'd get in return. It was about being the kind of person you wanted to be in the world. Her teachers were so moved by the essay that they asked Lily if they could share it with other classes, and soon it became required reading in their entire school. Marcus and James made sure Lily knew their complete love story. They didn't hide the fact that James had been wealthy and successful while Marcus was struggling. They didn't hide the fact that Sarah had left them for money. Instead, they used it as a lesson. They showed Lily that money doesn't determine your worth, success doesn't guarantee happiness, and that the most important investment you can make is in people and genuine human connection. The couple also made it a point to help others the way David had helped them. They opened their home to young people who needed a place to stay, mentoring them and helping them find their footing in the world. They started a foundation that provided scholarships and mentorship to young single parents pursuing education and careers. They did this quietly, without fanfare, because they believed in the power of genuine kindness without needing recognition. When Marcus's mother passed away at the age of 86, she told him in her final days that she was so proud of him. She said she'd watched him get knocked down by life, watched him lose the woman he thought he'd spend forever with, but she'd also watched him stand back up and choose love again. She told him that his kindness had always been his superpower, and that she was grateful he never let the world harden him. The thing about this story that makes it so powerful is that none of it was orchestrated. Marcus didn't help James because he was secretly rich. James didn't fall in love with Marcus because of some grand plan. They simply chose kindness, and that kindness echoed through both of their lives in ways they couldn't have imagined. 10 years after that first knock on the door, Marcus and James renewed their vows. They invited all the people who had been part of their journey, and in his speech, Marcus talked about how his worst day had become the beginning of his best life. He talked about how Sarah's abandonment, as painful as it was, had freed him to find someone who truly wanted to walk through life with him. He talked about how James coming to his door as a stranger had taught him that his instinct to help people, to open his heart, to believe in goodness was right all along. As you listen to this story, we want you to think about your own life. How many times have you been faced with a choice to be kind, and you hesitated? How many times have you wanted to help someone but worried about what you'd get in return? How many times have you closed your heart because you were afraid of being hurt again? This story is a reminder that kindness isn't naive or foolish. It's actually the bravest thing you can do in a world that teaches you to protect yourself, to keep score, to measure your worth by what you accumulate. Kindness is radical. Kindness is revolutionary. Kindness is how we change the world, one choice, one action, one moment at a time. Marcus never expected his act of kindness toward James would lead to his greatest love. He never expected that his vulnerability with his daughter would inspire her to become a kind, compassionate person herself. He never expected that his gentle heart would create ripples that touched so many lives. But that's the thing about kindness. It always finds its way back to you, sometimes in the most beautiful and unexpected ways. So as you go about your day, remember Marcus. Remember that the stranger at your door might be someone who will change your life. Remember that your broken heart doesn't disqualify you from love. Remember that being kind doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're strong enough to believe in goodness even when you've been hurt. Remember that the choice to be kind is always within your power, and that choice matters more than you'll ever know. Maybe there's someone in your life right now who needs your kindness. Maybe it's someone you know well, or maybe it's a stranger. Maybe it's someone who's been hurt and needs to see that there's still goodness in the world. Whatever it is, we encourage you to be like Marcus. Open your heart. Open your door. Choose kindness, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. This is what Kindness Hub believes in, and this is what we hope you'll take with you from this story. The world doesn't need your judgment or your fear. The world needs your kindness, your compassion, and your belief that people are fundamentally good. When you lead with those things, when you choose to see the best in people and treat them with genuine care, you create a ripple effect that extends far beyond what you can see. Marcus and James are still together, still loving each other, still raising Lily and helping others. Their home is a testament to the power of choosing kindness when it would be so much easier to choose bitterness. Their love story is proof that the best things in life come not from seeking happiness for yourself, but from giving kindness freely to others. Thank you so much for watching this story with us. If this touched your heart, please share it with someone you love. Subscribe to Kindness Hub for more stories that remind us all why being kind matters. Leave a comment and tell us about the kindest thing someone has done for you or the kindest thing you've done for someone else. Your stories inspire us and inspire others. Remember, the world is changed not by grand gestures, but by millions of small acts of kindness. You have the power to be someone's Marcus or James. You have the power to open a door, to help a stranger, to believe in someone when they've stopped believing in themselves. That power is within you right now. Go forth and be kind. The world needs it, and you've got this.